you don't need to have surgery. You're young, you're fit, you really don't need to worry about it, but it's going to be a long road to recovery. And at that very time, I thought, this is what I want to do.
Hello, my name's Nicole and welcome to The Big Chat. And today I am super excited to be speaking to Jaime Cooke from SPN. Hello, Jaime.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm so good. And it's so good to see you here. I can't say I've been wanting to talk to you for a long, long time. So thank you for coming in.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. So for those that don't... Everyone must know in Tunbridge Wells, SPN Studio, Spin Studio extraordinaire. But tell people that don't a bit about who you are, where you've come from, what you're doing, and then we'll get really stuck into it.
Okay, cool. So SPN is a boutique fitness studio which started in Tunbridge Wells. It actually started from my home in my cellar, but we have one location in Tunbridge Wells, and we've just opened our second location in Sevenoaks.
Amazing.
Which is a bit bigger. So our first location is fitness classes and nutrition. We run retreats in Mallorca. We were meant to go to California last year, but because of the pandemic, couldn't. We do one-to-ones. We're kind of all about community and that holistic sort of approach to fitness and wellness. Studio number 2 has a treatment room where we will have massages, facials, beauty. When I say beauty, mostly things like microneedling and peels. And we have nutrition, biohacking, so DNA testing, hormone testing, and microbiome testing. And we also are working with GPs. So we're going to have GP clinic there every Friday where we're integrating medical with holistic. So you can attend what's called a well-being clinic and see a GP, see a nutritional therapist, and see somebody for physiological sort of issues as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're growing, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, we do classes. We do sort of floor classes as well as spin classes. Our floor classes include bar, boxing, Pilates, yoga, TRX, strength training. And then our spin classes, we have 2 types of spin classes, one which is more kind of EDM, dancing on the bike, and another one which is more performance-based, like FTP testing and stuff.
Goodness me, that's a lot.
Yeah.
How did it, so you said it started in your cellar.
Yes.
So tell me about that. In the cellar. So, backstory. What were you doing before the cellar?
Okay.
Anyway.
I was in fashion for 10 years.
Okay.
So I had my own business in fashion previously.
I would never have guessed you in fashion, Jaime. You always look impeccable. So, wow. Okay. So for 10 years.
Yes. So, I basically started a company in 2003, which was called the Mukluk boot, which was the fur boot with the pom-poms and the Indian beading.
Wow.
Which Kate Moss was one of my first customers. I had a big celebrity following, was selling through high-end retailers like Harrods and Selfridges. I had 7 agents working in various countries, selling the product to department stores, high-end retail. So that was my first business. And I ran that for 10 years, evolved into summer lines, kids clothing, that sort of thing. So that was a very different business to what I'm doing now because it was production-based. So it was... it was kind of designing in-house and then producing something, which, initially our boots were made in Canada. So that was that nice link to home. And then, we had our sales agents who were selling it basically globally for us. So I did that. And through that kind of period, I started having children and, settling down. I was living in London at the time. And when I got pregnant with my third, we decided to make the move out to Tunbridge Wells. We lived just outside of Tunbridge Wells, and I kind of was at that point where I was like, okay, I think I'm sort of going to wind it down a bit with the business and maybe have a little bit of a break because I've never not worked since I was 12 years old, which is kind of nuts.
That's
I've always
crazy.
had that ethic.
Yeah.
And so. I was like, yeah, I'm going to take 6 months off and just sort of enjoy having a baby. And, and so I did that, and I felt really lost, and I felt like I'd lost my identity, because that was a big chunk of my life, in terms of my career. And I didn't really enjoy not working, because I like to be busy.
I could totally relate.
Yeah. So then I was kind of thinking about what I was going to do next. And I've always been really into interiors, which is, again, sort of that design side of things. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe I'll have like a little stint in interiors, because it's kind of a natural progression from fashion. And so it was just kind of finding my way, really. I had the baby, Monty, who's now 8, which is crazy.
Wow.
My husband and I had decided to take a trip to Ibiza for a couple weeks in the summer. And so we were on holiday, and we unfortunately were involved in a car accident, which herniated discs in my spine I think it was our second day away. Thankfully, the kids weren't with us, so I was hospitalized, and I was in hospital for 5 days. They wanted to do discectomy, so they wanted to remove the disc.
Goodness me.
And I didn't feel comfortable being in Spain, so I wanted a second opinion. So I decided to, on a lot of painkillers, decided to come back to London. I saw a neurosurgeon at London Bridge Hospital who said to me that, you don't need to have surgery. You're young, you're fit, you really don't need to worry about it, but it's going to be a long road to recovery. Through that process, I saw osteos. I mean, I was very fortunate, because I wasn't working. I could throw all my energy and resources into it. And I saw osteos, and I was doing Pilates 3 times a week, private Pilates. And within 3-4 months, the progression was like insane, like how quickly my body started to change in terms of like, the pain management, the mobility in my spine. I started with the inability to lift my child out of the cot. I couldn't stand up in the mornings. Like, it was really debilitating, to, being able to kind of start moving again. And I saw the same neurosurgeon 6 months after my first appointment, and he was blown away. He was just like, I don't understand. Like, I just can't believe the way you're moving. I can't believe, like, the journey that you've been on. Like, what have you been doing? And I said, to be honest, I think it's the Pilates.
Yeah.
And at that very time, I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to help people because I know how awful it is to have back pain. So I dedicated 2 years to studying and training as a Pilates teacher. I went up to London to Body Control Pilates and did my training there. And so started really just teaching one-to-ones from my home, because it was just sort of easing myself into it. As my clients got stronger, I got stronger, and I love fitness. I've been into fitness since I was very young. I was a figure skater when I was a child, so I've always been sporty. I've always been very active my whole life, and I wanted to do more. And I knew I couldn't run because it just wasn't working for my back. I couldn't do certain sports because of the sort of mobility issues. So I really got into cycling and spinning, and I went home to Canada to see my family one summer and discovered all these amazing spin studios. And I was just going every day. And I just love the endorphins. I love the buzz. I love the music. And I've always really loved, like, sort of music. And so it kind of, for me, it's like, it was sort of that step into, how can I be creative in my fitness world, know? And So I decided to get some bikes and put them in my cellar.
Brilliant.
I had 4 bikes, and I just invited a few, like, kind of moms at the school gate, some friends, and word travels, you know what it's like. And like every couple of weeks I was adding more bikes, adding more classes, and then I'm teaching like double classes, and I'm so exhausted because I'm not used to doing this. But my body got really, really strong, especially my back. Never had back pain when I was teaching spin. Before I knew it, I had 20 bikes in my cellar. I had 400 clients coming to my home. I expanded. I had other instructors working with me in other areas. You know, we expanded into bar classes and Pilates, and I was doing like full Pilates classes there as well. So it kind of, for me, established that, one, there was a need, and two, that, you know, there were people like me looking for that same kind of thing. Like, you know, I got a lot of inspiration from studios in New York, and LA, and London, and, you know, and I felt like, you know, I'd always go up to London to do classes. I was traveling an hour on the train just to get to a class, you know, and actually, why shouldn't we have great studios?
Absolutely.
You know, and why shouldn't we have access to amazing classes? So, yeah, so SPN was born, basically.
I mean, and I remember when it was born, because we had Chatty, we had offices up the road, and it was just amazing. It was literally like, I mean, obviously you've explained that your interior design and fashion, all that background, you could tell that, because when you walk in that place, it is stunning.
Oh, thank you.
It is. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, even the showers, you know, you go in and the products and just the rose garden, it was just stunning. I mean, it was just beautiful. And for me personally, if I'm going to go anywhere, I really want to experience, I really want to feel that full experience and immerse myself in it. And those things are important, I think, to all of us. And it really did. Yeah, it's just beautiful. The clothes. I mean, every time I went in there, I'd end up buying some clothes. I'd always get some amazing smoothie. You know, it was just a really lovely experience. And there was just a real, very fast sense of community there, actually. It came very quickly, I think, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you had a lot of people that came that knew about you, but I would imagine a lot of new people just came in and were like, wow, because there wasn't anything like that. There still isn't, I don't think, anything like that being offered in Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah.
So unbelievable.
Yeah, no. I mean, for me, customer journey is like one of the most important things in a studio. It's great to have a beautiful space and have all the right products and everything, but the customer journey from the moment they walk in the door has to be right. We have our own scented candles, which we're always burning through the studio. So you have that sense of like, oh, this kind of like, okay, now I'm here, you know? We always have music on. The instructors always have like the music on in the studios to get you sort of in that mode. So if it's yoga, it will be yoga specific music. If it's spin, it will be more high energy, just to get you excited and get you ready for that sort of that class. You know, you can pre-order your smoothies for after class, which is always a nice little
so good. It's just genius. That's just genius, being able to do that as well. But yeah, there's so much thought has gone into all of it. And also, I think, like you say, I mean, music, for me, getting on a bike, and I talked to you in the studio before, because I was like, oh, you know, I'm 46 this year, and I've struggled with my weight the last few years. Definitely, I think my dad passing, you stress, you carry it in your body differently, and as you're getting older. But honestly, getting on those bikes and having that music, I mean, it's as close to me being in a club in my youth, I would say. But that kind of high energy endorphin is fantastic. So I absolutely love it. But all your classes as well that you've done now, I've done some of the bar classes, I've done some of the boxes. I mean, the boxing was just fabulous. I mean, you've got great team there, haven't you? How many people have you got at that studio? So
now I've got 40 staff, which is kind of, with the two studios, it's kind of nuts.
So let's talk about, so obviously lockdown happened, so you guys were really busy. I mean, you were super busy all the time, and you were doing your retreats and all this stuff was going on, and then literally it just hit us, didn't it? And I think one of the unfortunate things, I mean, you guys just had to shut. You know, like the shops. I mean, how was that when that happened?
Yeah, it was kind of like, in a way, it was a blessing for us, because it meant that we could work on other areas of the business that I didn't have time to. But it was a shock. Like, for everyone, it was such a shock. And also, we didn't know how, I mean, I think there was this real fear about, you know, COVID.
Getting ill, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, prior to lockdown, we were doing a crowdfund to raise the funding for Sevenoaks. So we were in this expansion plan anyways for the business. So we were doing a crowdfund. We had to axe the fund because you couldn't raise money for a second studio when you physically can't be open. So we axed the fundraise, and we kind of just, you know, thought, right, fine. we'll focus on other things. Now some of the other areas of the business that we've been wanting to work on for the last year but haven't been able to because we've been too busy running our 55 plus classes a week, was a digital platform.
Yeah.
So we've always had that in the pipeline, and we've always been looking at it, not able to find the right partners. That's been quite a journey. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, we don't have a choice. This is the time to do it. So 2 weeks prior to lockdown, we started initiating these conversations with tech companies to see how we could execute a digital platform very quickly.
Yeah.
So I was filming probably, 7 to 10 classes a day in April. We were going in every day. I would have one instructor. I would sit in the other room. I'd be filming it. Thankfully, we're filming to Vimeo, so it has a good platform. We were running live classes every day as well. So it kind of kicked us into gear to get this digital platform up and running. The other thing that we did very early days was we hired out all our spin bikes.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was an amazing idea.
Yeah. So we thought, well, they're sitting here. We can film spin online. So why not hire them out? So
Brilliant.
we hired out all the spin bikes that we had in the studio. And that was really good because it kept our clients connected with us.
Definitely.
And I could have probably hired thousands had I had them, the demand was seriously there. So that was, in a way that was quite good for us as well, because it kept us connected to our community.
Definitely.
And so we just started to build that, and we really focused on running that, for the first few months of lockdown. So that was really, so time consuming. I mean, I loved it because I was learning. I was learning about sound, about video, having to kind of think in a different way. We're all having to teach in a different way because we're teaching to a camera as opposed to bodies. So so that was quite an interesting time, but good because now we have a digital platform.
Yeah. And do you think that's something that you'll keep there as well?
Yeah. So we actually had a meeting about this the other day because as we know, a lot of people will come back to the studio, but probably some people will continue to do a bit of both.
Definitely.
So what we've decided to do is to make our platform kind of an extension of the studio. So rather than doing loads of video on demand, we're going to do a lot more lives. So every day you'll have 5 or 6 lives to choose from.
Brilliant.
And what happens in a live when you have bodies in the room is you kind of feel a bit more part of the community because you're seeing the instructor, you're doing the class, you're seeing the others in the class. So it's a bit more motivating.
Yeah.
But the class gets wiped. So we don't save any of the filming because just, I think people wouldn't feel very comfortable coming to a class knowing they're being filmed and it's always going to be stored there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the idea. That's how we're going to move forward with that.
That's fun.
Yeah, so that's quite good. We have since last summer also got a lot more bikes. So we've hired out more bikes, and we've been doing this hire to own scheme as well, which is similar to Peloton in the sense that you pay monthly payments and then at the end you own the bike.
Amazing.
So that's been really good for us. And then the other area we're focusing on is education. So train the trainer, basically. We've created our methods, and we want to be able to teach instructors who maybe have done PT qualifications or, other training who want to learn to teach our methods. They can come and do training with our sort of education and training
That's
team.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot, because a lot of people come out of their training, like when I did my ride, my sort of spin teacher training, it was 2 days. You really don't learn anything about music, how to put a playlist together, where to find music, what works, how to design a class. You just learn the basics and the safety on the bike. Yeah. So we want to be able to teach people that so that they have these amazing skills. And when they do audition for studios or they do, come to us.
That's so cool.
They have a bit of sort of substance to it.
That's so, I mean I did get a Peloton bike.
Good.
I did, and I love it. Good. I mean, I haven't been on it for the last week. I was in Centre Parks, but I love it. But I was thinking interestingly about you the other day, because I was thinking, I still will want to go to classes. Yeah. And actually it's probably made me want to go to classes more. Yeah. Because I've kind of got my confidence up a bit, because it, like when I came, it was great. You guys always make everyone feel very comfortable, and it's really good fun, and I loved it. And I used to come with all my guys from work. Yeah. But also if you do get a bit out of shape. You know, you can be a bit under pressure.
Yeah.
But actually having something at home, now I'm like, actually, no, I'm going to get really into it. I'm going to come, and I've seen some of your shares about Sevenoaks, and every time you put something out there with a playlist, or you get so excited about the music, it's very energizing. And I don't think that connection, you're not going to necessarily get that on your Peloton bike, you know.
No.
So I'm very excited about doing this. So tell me about Sevenoaks.
So Sevenoaks, that's an interesting journey.
How did that? So you literally, like you said, you were crowdfunding, and you had to stop that.
Yeah. So prior to the crowdfund, like about probably, I guess it's been over 2 years now. Over 2 years ago, I knew that I wanted to expand, and Sevenoaks seemed like kind of, it was close enough, but far enough away, but that little bit closer to London.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a good kind of second location.
Definitely.
So I was looking for properties, and it's not easy to find properties in towns. It just isn't, because the buildings are usually quite small, or planning is an issue. Anyways, so I was looking around and trying to find a location, and having no luck. And then I went away. I can't remember where I'd gone, but I'd went away, and I came back, and there was a letter in my post at my house. And basically, this woman and her father owned this building in Sevenoaks, and she said that they had been following me on Instagram, and they really liked what we did, and they think it could be a really good gym, and da da da. And I thought, okay, this is really interesting. I looked at the building. I'm like, it's a really cool building. It looks like very 1970s Malibu, California. So so I said, okay, I'd love to see it. Saw it that week. Absolutely. Like, I was like, this place has so much potential, like unreal. And then we started that process, but planning took 9 months. Sevenoaks Council has not been easy to deal with. Mm-hmm. So planning change of use took 9 months alone. And then we went into lockdown. So we basically thought, okay, this is like obviously not the right time. Mm-hmm. Let's just shelf it, focus on the digital stuff.
Yeah.
And then my husband's also an entrepreneur, and he said, you know, some of the biggest businesses are built in pandemics and built in really difficult times.
Absolutely.
Which he's right. I mean, look at Amazon and, you know, various other massive businesses. And I was like, okay. So I decided to go to my bank and ask them if they would loan me the money that I was going to raise in the crowdfund. And I thought, okay, if they actually lend me the money for this project, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. They lent me the money.
Amazing.
So, I mean, I was like, in these times, I was quite shocked. Mm. But I have a good business plan. I have a good business. And I think they could see also that when we are out of it, people will be investing in health and wellness.
Absolutely.
You know? So, so the project started last July. We started the work. It was a massive refit. We had to gut it. We had to dig, push walls back, create more space. And it finished. We were hoping to open in December, but sadly, you know, we went into another lockdown, so we couldn't. So we kind of sat with it empty for a few months, and then we opened our doors, I think, when cafes could open again, sort of mid-Feb, and we opened just the cafe where we have, we have a kitchen there, so we'll do healthy food and smoothies, and now we do Monmouth coffee, which I'm very excited about.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, so it's a bit sort of, it's an extension of what we did before. It's kind of that next sort of level for us, you know?
And isn't that amazing when you sort of, and actually I do remember having the conversation with you about the letter coming in, because I remember we talked about it and you were like, it was just unbelievable. You almost let go of something. You sort of think, oh, I'm not going to find somewhere. And then it just gets presented to you. And with the money as well, sort of the crowdfunding, you're like, oh, well, I can't do it. Pandemic. Well, I'll ask the bank. And if they say, yeah, then I'll have to. And then they do. And now you're hit. It's quite unbelievable. It's really sort of when you sort of just give over to the process and trust in it a bit, what actually ends up happening. Yeah. Talk to me about this Jeep. I'm intrigued by, now I've seen a lot of what you've done before with vitamin drips and things like that. And this is quite a new thing for not London, not, you know, for those of us who like to go over to the States, everything's there, and Canada, like you've mentioned, and but not Tunbridge Wells necessarily. So there's some of that's been brought in, and you're bringing a lot of those therapies in that people might not be able to get in London.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about that, because I'm really interested. You mentioned the DNA and...
Yeah, so we've been doing DNA testing for the last 2 years, and DNA testing can give you a lot of information in terms of your predispositions to certain things. So our nutritional therapist, Abir, will meet with you in your first instance, talk to you about your goals, how you're feeling, your diet, and then we send away a DNA test, which goes to a lab actually in Toronto in Canada.
Wow.
It comes back and you get this full report in terms of like in regards to foods that might work best for you, foods that you should avoid, exercise that works better for you, whether it's strength or cardio based.
Yeah.
Even your levels of motivation. So it gives us a big oversight as to you as a person. And it doesn't, just because you have a predisposition to it doesn't mean you have it. But if you, for example, like wheat and gluten, if you said to a bear, okay, I feel, lethargic, and I really have a hard time like digesting certain foods.
Yeah.
And we see that you have a predisposition in your DNA, then we know that, that's something to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And you also did something else I've just thought of here that you were doing during lockdown. And obviously you spoke to Giles earlier. So Giles did do a podcast chat with Wim Hof.
Oh, I love Wim Hof.
I know you love Wim Hof because you started swimming, didn't you? I mean, not started swimming, but tell us a bit about that, because you've been doing that as well. For someone that was starting doing this, Jamie, because you wanted to slow down. You thought, I had my third child and I thought I'd take a break. It doesn't sound like it's gone like a break, but yeah, let's hear about the swimming, because I'm fascinated by that.
So so I guess I started this swimming. I kind of started to hear a little bit about Wim Hof, and I really love the idea of the cold water and the breathing and the full method. I think it's a really amazing method. So it's been a weird time for everyone, and I think it makes. I think my anxiety's probably been a little bit higher than it would have normally, and started with cold showers. So I was listening to Wim Hof podcasts. I was reading his books, and just doing a lot of research around it, and started with the cold showers sort of last summer, and then when I felt confident, went into the sea. Yeah. And that was around the time when we were running a retreat up in Suffolk. And so we stayed in this amazing place. And they had a lake there. And I said to everybody on the retreat, I think we should swim. Yeah. And you can bring wetsuits, you can do whatever, feels comfortable, but I think we should swim. And we had paddle boards there as well. And I mean, I'm talking mid-October. It wasn't warm, okay? And lakes are always notoriously colder than the sea. Yeah. So we went on this retreat, which was gorgeous. It was really lovely. We did, classes, we did yoga, we did meditations. We had this healthy vegan chef. So it was a really lovely experience. Normally we'd be running them, in Mallorca or out of the country. So, but every morning we said, okay, we're going to go for a swim. We're going to start our day off with a swim. Yeah. So we'd go into the lake, and it was freezing.
How freezing is freezing? I mean, what are we talking? I mean, what's safe to go in the water? Like, I know Wim Hof does.
Arctic. Yeah, I'm not doing Arctic yet. The coldest I've been in is 5 degrees.
Oh my word!
And that's cold.
I mean, I'm cold just sitting here now.
But you can't stay in water that long when it's 5 degrees. I think there it was probably 8, maybe 9 degrees, and we'd go in for 10-15 minutes. Yeah. I kind of have this rule, like if the water is like 10 degrees, you can kind of go 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Depends on how conditioned you are, and how much you do it. But the buzz it gives you afterwards, like it gets all the blood flow. It's really good for inflammation in the body. Yeah. It's really good for mental health. Like it actually, even cold showers makes me really happy. Like it makes you super happy when you've been in the water. It's strange. It's so strange. So I started going with this group of women down in Hastings. There's about 30 of them. and they go in every single day at 9 o'clock in the morning off of Rocanor. And I don't make it down there every day, sadly. But Buell Waters just opened up swimming as well on Saturdays and Sundays. So that's actually really good. There's something a bit closer to home. But when I first started, I was finding streams, lakes. Every time I'd see something, I'd be like, I want to go in there, you know, which isn't actually safe. I don't recommend it because I got a kidney infection.
Did you?
Yeah. So, and my doctor's like, maybe you should stick to the sea. So yeah, I test. I now have a water test kit. So I recommend testing the water before you get in.
Oh my
But yeah,
word.
it's amazing. We'll go down. We
And
should go down.
I mean, I said to you during lockdown, I was like, I'm definitely going to come. I mean,
Yeah.
I get a bit scared about things. I'm getting better actually. I mean, even just doing a holiday with my kids, they wanted me climbing every day, and I've got a real problem with vertigo.
Yeah.
But it was really fascinating because the last few times I've gone, I'm like, I'm just not going to be scared of this stuff anymore. This is really irritating me. I refuse. And this time I was up there, and my vertigo is just gone.
Wow.
I mean, I just wasn't scared. It was
Yeah.
just, but it was practice.
Getting over the fear.
It is getting over the fear, and it was like, and the enjoyment I got out of it just so surpassed any fear that I had. And the first day I was a little bit like, oh God, but my kids' faces, they were just so cute wanting me up there. And we did it every day and it was great. So I think, but also those cold showers, you know, Giles does it as well. Lots of people I know, I mean, Wim Hof, obviously lots of people follow Wim Hof, but do you still do that now? Is that something you still?
Yes, yeah. I do cold showers most days. And I only really get to swim at the moment maybe once or twice a week, not as much as I'd like to, but it's difficult because when you're working and, you know.
And you've got children.
I've got 3 kids, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, how do you manage all of that, Jamie? Because you're busy. I mean, like you said, you had 3 children?
Yeah.
So you had your 3rd child, so you thought you'd take some time out.
Yeah.
You'd take some time out, which then went full throttle the other way. But how do you, because you are incredibly upbeat, you're always very warm, I would say. And, you know, I think all of us have definitely experienced anxiety, but how do you manage that roller coaster that is life with business and family? How do you manage that?
My family is so super supportive. My husband's really supportive.
That's
I think
amazing.
Also because he's an entrepreneur. He understands what goes into building a business, and he believes in what I'm doing, which is massive. And my kids, you know, are amazing, and we've had this great year together, you know, just absolutely amazing year together because they've been at home more. We've all been at home more. So we've been able to connect a lot more than we did before. So I feel like we've developed these really nice, you know, relationships. You know, I have support, which is good. You know, I have a nanny that's super, who's always helping me when I need it. You know, for me, it's just about like scheduling and just making sure that, you know, you carve out the time for the family and for yourself. I think that the thing that I don't do enough is do things for myself, you know? And that's why the swimming was really great in lockdown, because I had the time. Every morning I could go to a lake or I could go to the sea and I could do that. And it felt so luxurious to me to be able to do that. And now as things are kind of ramping up to reopening and everything going on, I sort of feel like, oh, you know, I need to find that balance again, because I don't want to be in the place I was in prior to lockdown, because that was crazy. I'm sure everybody was in the same place. It was
totally
crazy.
And I think and also it's interesting when you think that what you provide is that luxury for other people, because you're giving the luxury to other people to relax, but actually at the same time we sometimes don't do that ourselves, which is crazy. So I think it is really important. So will you try and factor in more time for yourself as time goes on?
Yes, I hope that when we open and the full team is back up and running and everybody's kind of doing their thing, I hope I can find that balance again. You know, and I think, you know, we find time when we go on holidays, and we haven't had holidays for so long. And I've tried taking days off, but then I end up working because I'm like, well, I might as well be working because I'm, you know, at home. So I think it's just being conscious of, you know, finding that time. So I think I will. I hope, you know, because I think we all need it.
We definitely all need it. And it sounds like you've got a great team around you as well. So I mean, can you, this is going to be great, like you say, with London as well, because you're going to get people coming from all over. And now Sevenoaks is so close to London as well, isn't it? So people, when they're popping home, can pop in. And
we're right across from the train station. So that's, and actually when we took the studio, we thought this is going to be amazing because we're going to get all the commuters.
Yeah.
But then this
There's
situations happened. And actually what we're finding is there's a lot of new residential in the area, lots of flats and things like that. And what we're finding now is before lockdown, tons of people have moved out from London, probably because property prices aren't as crazy. You can get into central London in no time. And I'm meeting a lot of people who are like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I've just moved down from London, and, and so they actually get the concept.
Yeah,
like
totally.
They understand it, and they're kind of like, okay, well, this is great. Now I get a little piece of London, in terms of my fitness and my wellness here.
Yeah.
So that's been quite good for us in that sense. But also we're getting a lot of residential, like so many of the people who do normally commute are saying, well, I'm actually not going to use my London gym anymore. So I'm going to start coming here. Or I might do a class. We do 6:30 a.m. spin classes, which I'm not teaching, by the way. So they can do a class and then get on the train and go to the office if they're going in a couple times a week. So actually, I think it's going to create that lovely community again.
Definitely. And because also I don't think people are going to necessarily go back to work 5 days a week.
No, I don't either.
I think there's going to be a lot more people working from home. I mean, a lot of my team have always worked from home. We've had that flexi working just because, well, I set up my business with my daughter and my son were like 2 and 1. So it just had to work. Whatever worked for me had to sort of work for my team. Yeah. But I think now the whole world's opened up into, actually, you can trust people. Yeah. They will work from home.
They will do the job.
They will do their job, because it was always a bit like, oh, work from home. No, they need to come in an office. And actually, people can be more productive at home if they know what they're doing. Yeah. Obviously, different jobs are different, but I would imagine not everyone's going to go back 5 days a week. And I would imagine now they'll be coming to, and also people can drop into Sevenoaks, because I'd like to come to Sevenoaks. I'd like to, they can go to both. You don't have to live in Sevenoaks.
That's right. And the way that we've structured our credits and memberships and stuff, so you can use them across both studios.
Amazing.
So you have the ability to book classes in either space.
And what are you and so retreats, you mentioned retreats. Obviously you do lots of retreats and things. What's the state of play with that at the moment? Because we can't really...
I don't know. I mean, we were meant to go to California last September and do a surf and yoga retreat, which we had to axe. We are thinking about possibly doing Mallorca this October, but I'm not going to make any decisions until they open travel, because I just want to see what happens. Insurers are not covering you for COVID anymore because, they can't. Yeah. And I'm not willing to take that risk.
No, absolutely.
It's just too much investment. So we might do another, UK retreat again, because actually that worked really well. And the idea is eventually when we are completely back to traveling and a bit more normality, I would like to start looking at expanding retreats, like doing winter retreats in like Canada and doing like snowshoeing, and really make them more adventure fitness retreats. Because there's so many amazing places to go and so many things that you can do. And it's always been a side of the business that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and you do come across as someone that loves adventure, and everything's just a little bit different, which is what I like. I can imagine going on a retreat, like you say, it's just not your average. It's like the surfing and the yoga and all those things. I love that. And has that just always been? You mentioned you were a skater when you were younger, but have you always just had that energy for sports and adventure? Has that always been a big part of your life, Jamie?
Yeah, I grew up in the Canadian Rockies, so I spent a lot of my childhood and teens, early 20s in mountains, in lakes. I was cold water swimming before anybody was cold water swimming. Didn't even realize it. Yeah. And I've always been into hiking and skiing and snowboarding and cross country skiing and snowshoeing, and I've always kind of had that in my blood. My dad's always been into the great outdoors, so I think that's always been a big part of my life, and I took up surfing like 15 years ago. Absolutely love it. Yeah. There's just I like being in nature and doing sport in nature. I think it's amazing. And
can you come, like I can't surf, but could I come on a surfing retreat if I didn't surf?
Absolutely. You can learn. Everything is all levels. Like we do road cycling retreats in Mallorca, and sometimes we'll get people who will come who haven't been on road bikes. They might have been on mountain bikes. So we always, have instructors there who are specialists in those areas. So they help, anybody who's new. And we always gauge the level of our attendees just to make sure that, they're comfortable with what they're doing as well. But this is the best time to do it because you're actually experiencing it with other people who may have never done it as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and it's just so... Is that the bit that you love the most about your job? Because you're very creative. You're obviously very creative and you love creative. Do you have these ideas and just think, we could do this retreat and we could do that? Is that how that happens? Does your team get involved as well more now as you're growing? Or
Yeah, my poor team, honestly. I will call them or I'll message them and I'll say, oh my God, I've had an idea. I'm just like, oh God, now what? Like it's a regular occurrence. And also when I'm on these retreats and I'm in nature, my brain is like, and we could do this and we could do this.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's great to have all these great ideas and big ideas, but you also have to drop them at the right time.
Yes.
You can't just like go out with loads and loads of stuff because it's overwhelming for the client.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for the business. So, I kind of bank ideas and then I think, okay, I think this will work at this time. You kind of know when it feels right and when people are ready for it.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to come? What have we got to look forward to? We've got Sevenoaks, we've got Tunbridge Wells, we've got all these retreats, all these. What are the other things that you'd like to still do?
Well, I mean, I'm always kind of thinking about the expansion and the growth of business from a business point of view. I've always wanted SPN to be a lifestyle brand.
Yes.
So I want it to cover every area of your life. And I feel like now with Sevenoaks, with the food, with the kitchen there, with the wellness, the treatments and the nutrition and the other areas and the physical, I feel like that's kind of, we're getting there.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. I would love to have almost like my own retreat venue.
Amazing.
It would be the next stage.
Yeah.
To have somewhere where you could stay, still have the other offerings. Maybe it would be a more expanded version. Maybe you'd only have 8 rooms or something, but everything would be, all around that holistic wellness, fitness sort of offering.
Yeah.
And you could just go for a weekend and you could pop into spin classes. You could do, whatever classes you want, have swimming pools, just make it that kind of full.
Can you make that happen, please?
Well, I'm looking.
I mean, that would be so
I need to find a partner for that one.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. And I think you're definitely a manifester.
Yeah.
Clearly, you make things, clearly you make things happen, but also you enjoy it, like you say. And that's, I mean, for people out there that sort of are thinking about starting up their own thing, what advice would you give them? Because you've obviously been someone that's, like you said, support's so important, isn't it? Yeah. But also belief. I think just believing in and going for things that you really want to go for.
Yeah, I think if there's a need for something and you feel the need, the chances are there's many other people who feel it.
Definitely.
Who want it. So I think it's just, establishing that there's a market for something. And that's why I think my journey's been great, because I started quite small and I started very, sort of within my own, community of sort of friends. And then that growth has been sort of organic. So I think, without going too crazy in the beginning, just sort of feel it out, do focus groups, do things like, I did classes for free just to get feedback, just sort of, feeling it out. And then if you've established that there is a need or a want for what you're offering, then I would just say go for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you believe it, everybody's going to believe it.
That's so true. That's good advice.
Yeah.
So if people want to, and I noticed this as I drove past the other day, that SPN, it's Soul Power Nutrition. Yeah. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I love.
Thank you.
I'd like, I mean, obviously there's so many plays on SPN being a spin studio as well, but I just love that Soul Power Nutrition. So people want to find out more about you and everything that's going on, they can literally just go to the main website, socials, can't they, and find out everything they need there.
Yeah, our website is spn.fit.
Yeah.
And it's the same Instagram handle as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think we would love to maybe come and we're going to do a few road trips.
Cool.
The big chat.
Come and do a class.
I would love to literally bring the crew and come along and literally do that and maybe chat to you guys and do something on site, because that's something something we've wanted to do, is to literally come and, you know, take ourselves out and do a road trip and come and see. So I'd love to come and visit you in Sevenoaks.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not, as like the California surf retreat can definitely, that can come too.
Yeah, you can come on that one too.
Okay, but thank you so much, Jamie. You're an inspiration. It's really lovely to talk to you, and I wish you all the success with everything that's going on.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to us.